Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, that chap there, he was a good speaker, wasn't he? Well, I'd like to apologise for, the elders the ground what we stand on here in Wonnarua Country. And I'd like to introduce Leroy and Jenny for the next presentation. Leroy. Jenny.
Thank you, Councillor. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting and also elders past, present and future. I'd also like to add, because of the nature of our presentation, another tribute to one of the Barkindji elders who passed earlier this year, who was a very gentle soul but a river warrior. And it's our river that we're fighting for. Look, it's been wonderful to listen to all the really positive programs that are going on. Some of them are inspiring. But we're actually going to change the agenda slightly. We're here to ask for your help. Not in a financial way, in a political way. Because the Barkindji people are watching their mother die. That's all I'm going to say on the cultural side of it. And it's not just due to drought. It's due to what is being done to the Darling River under the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, which was intended to save it. So, is that the button? Yeah, that'd be good. So, next one. So, the Murray-Darling Basin Plan was introduced, supposedly, to help save a river that has been over-allocated for many years, water going to irrigation. It's the next one, please. So very briefly, it's a huge area, it's a very complex system. I know there's a lot of people here that will know the system, but I've discovered there's an awful lot of people who don't realise just how big that and complex that system is. So as you can see, it's bigger than Egypt. It stretches huge areas across New South Wales, into South Australia, into Victoria, and carries a considerable amount of Australia's usable fresh water. However, a lot of that is now totally over-allocated. And as I said, the Murray-Darling Basin Plan initially was set up to save that river. It has become a tool of the irrigators and the water traders. And have a look and see what has happened to the river at Wilcannia, which is a central home of the Barkindji people. This one? No, skip that one. I'll go back to it. No, keep going, please. Right. That was our river a couple of months ago. That is where we can pump our irrigation from, but as you can see, we'd be sand mining. We actually have a small water licence. It's not much use to us. So, do you want to go back to the map one? Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I'm jumping around to try and keep this short. That's the complexity of the Murray-Darling system. Now, Wilcannia is based at the bottom of what is known as the Northern Basin. There are some very big tributaries to the Darling, which actually starts at Bourke. You've got the Colgoa, you've got the Warrego, you've got the Condamine, you've got the McIntyre, all of which run into the Ballon, which then becomes the Murray at Bourke. But that Northern Basin holds massive amounts of water for irrigators. Was supposed to be for environmental water as well, was supposed to be for cultural water as well. We've got to the point that we're arguing for survival water. And in the theme of this conference, it is survival, if we're going to look at beyond survival. There are water storages up there. One company proudly boasts that it has 28 kilometres of water storage on the Colgoa River. The smaller irrigators are not the issue, even the medium-sized irrigators. It is the very large irrigators who have also taken up what I believe has now become just as big an issue as irrigation, and that is water trading. And our water trading allows... Next one, please. Right. Water trading did begin as a way for people with large water licences to sell water to people who needed a little bit more, who had smaller ones. It has become a business in its own right. And Webster's, one of Australia's largest agribusinesses, holds 200,000 megalitres of water under licence. Not all in the Northern Basin, but they proudly boast that they extract water to exploit opportunities in the water markets. In other words, they make large amounts of money simply out of selling water, buying the licences and selling the water. As I said, not all the irrigators are part of it, but it's increasing and it's incredibly damaging. And I can give you two examples of it. One, a very small one. Well, no, I'll give you the big one first. Webster bought the irrigation property Tandou near Menindee and 22,000 megalitres of water licences. In June of last year, the water licence was sold to the Commonwealth for $38 million, and $40 million was paid to them in compensation for the loss of future business. They are the only people that have been compensated for selling their water back to the government. So not only are we losing the water, they are making massive amounts of money out of it. They were also given 21 gigalitres of water to grow another crop the 12 months after the sale of the property. That water was supposed to go back to the environment. Instead, it went upriver to the Northern Basin, and very recently 70 gigalitres was taken out of the environmental water allocation, put back into the irrigation allocation, and of course Webster's operate up there. So effectively they're taking the water they supposedly sold back to the river and trading it. And I'll get off my soapbox because it just makes me angry to think about it. So I'll give you an example of the small water trading. Right. Wilcannia holds a very small water licence. We can't use it, obviously. You saw the reason why. We can accumulate that water and sell it. You've seen what we're selling, but we could make probably $40,000, which to Wilcannia is a lot of money, out of selling that water, but we'd be selling it upriver for someone to take out so it didn't ever come down to us. And I'm going to leave it there. My plea is for the support of the Land Council, State Land Council, a possible future minister, to look at the water trading issue. It's legalised theft. But I'll now hand over to Leroy, who will speak on behalf of what this is doing to the Barkindji culture.
Thanks, Jenny. I'd like to acknowledge the Wonnarua people and whose land we're on today also. Respect to the elders past and present. I'd like to give a shout out to the rest of the land councils in our region, Broken Hill, Dearden, Tipperary, Cobar, who else, Menindee, Wilcannia, because they give up their right to present here because we're all passionate about this one issue. And they travel the furthest every time too, so give it up for them, where it is. One day we might be at a conference where we acknowledging the Willikali people or the Mati people and not the Wonnarua people, but that's different. Anyway, what the river means to our culture and heritage out there, as you see them very sad photos, the water comes and floods and then it just gets drained again. The Barkindji mob out there, their name is, the Barker is what we call the Darling River, so, and then the Barkindji means people belonging to that river, so basically it's our identity to that river. And you can see the theft. That's been on four corners. There's royal commissions into it. And there's big business taking money, making lots of money, growing things like cotton and rice, they should never be grown in this country. You semi-arid conditions, we're trying to grow crops that needs heaps of water. Yeah. So, but for us culturally, there's a story there about you see Wonnarua, and Wonnarua is our god, and he let our Nachi, which is our rainbow serpent, we got 2 of them, out of his water bag, and he created all those rivers there that you've seen on that map. And then he went through, and when he went through all that land, the water followed him. And then we come along after that, and we live by the rules of those rivers. So, and that still happens today. Like certain times of the year, we're not allowed to go near the river, even if it's full to swim, even if it's 40 degrees. For example, we won't let our mob go near the river at Christmas time because that's when the Nazi are looking for, people. So we still have those beliefs, and gives us. We all get tucker out of it, fish, yabbies, mussels. All of our wild meat comes to eat at that river, and it's very sad to see the river like that. I don't know if you go out that way, even our kangaroos and our wildlife, they look sad because we're in a drought. That's fair enough. That happens in this country, but when our people would move according to conditions, so we'll go to a different place where there is water and leave that place to recover. But now when we go, it's hot, we go towards the river instead of out of the desert and the country. And when we get to the river, all we got is little puddles of poison water, So, us out there at Far West, I just wanted to acknowledge a few people there too that should be making this plea, and they have. Uncle William Murray's taken busloads to Canberra to meet with ministers up there. You got people like Murray Butcher and Uncle Badger. The communities out there, there's been protests in Mildura, I think Benindi, Canya's had 3, I think, in the last, and this is people blocking the streets. And I just wanted to finish with this fella up here on the screen. His name Wilbur Thompson, and he's talking about our river. So, and that'll be it. And we're finished, James, 4 minutes early. Where is he? Now, if I press play, that'll play? Oh, I must have. No. Oh, yeah, cool.
We spent quite a lot of time down along the riverbank, and it wasn't just about catching something to eat, it's about keeping our families together. It's a place where, as a young person, you're constantly learning and you're encouraged to go on and have a look at things, and your parents and grandparents and aunties and uncles are all around as well. And with less water in the system, I guess that has an impact on the social makeup of people within the community. You can see there still are a lot of people that go fishing, but they need that water in the river to be able to do it, and it just changes people's lives. You see kids that are got something they can do, and they're connecting to their country, to their Mother Earth, and connecting through their stories through that river. Gives a focal point for all of us. The fact that our groups out west are named after the big features in our country, like the Barker being the river, and Barkanji meaning of the river or from the river, shows you how important those two things are, people and country, people and place. and you can't have one without the other. So when one suffers, the other one suffers as well. And it's had an impact. There's data out that we'd collected years ago when the river had dried up. I'd say it'd be about 15 years ago. That came back through the working party that showed that when the river was high, the crime rates were down, school attendance was up, and incarceration rates were down. So it brought this positive atmosphere to the place, whereas when the river's low, we see the reverse effect on all those things. And just you can feel the general mood in the town change. It means that much to us, for the people from Wilcannia. Yeah, I don't know if that's enough. Is that enough?
That'll do, bro. Yeah, so that's why we're Thompson talking about the impact of the river, and I just wanted to say one thing before we let to the Shadow Minister. When you move up into the big house, hopefully, we're looking for a champion to take on these big business that's out there, these national parties and Liberal parties here, selling us literally down the dry river. We need your help, bud, so bring it on.